what's your nostalgia around it?
Pretty bad, actually, because I think I was watching it during a time where like there was a lot of chaos in family.
Okay.
And I was just happening to watch the movie while chaos was happening behind me.
So for you, there's no emotional connection to it.
Not to the first trilogy. I think the first trilogy was something that I binged as a kid because it was like sit in front of the TV and watch. We have stuff to do. But
the prequel trilogy, you feel more connected to?
I have more personal meaning with.
Okay.
And so I consume that in a more exciting way. So the first trilogy was always looked at for me as kind of like the precursor to the prequel trilogy.
Yeah. Which is actually, so I'm definitely more of a Star Wars fan than you.
Yes.
To say the least. I'm wearing a Star Wars t-shirt for those of you listening to the podcast. No, I think that actually speaks volumes, and I think that's an important piece because the Star Wars fandom can be known as being really toxic, right? There's a lot of negative sides to that. And I think some of that is rooted in the nostalgia factor, right? So like I can imagine my parents were in their early 20s when the original series came out, right? So it was the first time it broke records. It was like such a cultural moment that it definitely influenced them, right? So anybody who liked science fiction or liked like fantasy stuff, this was like groundbreaking, right? So there was this immediate connection to it, right? So then we fast forward to when I was younger. They re-released Star Wars on VHS. Like no edits, nothing. It was just they released it on VHS, and it was like the first time they had released them really on VHS, like as a box set.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was introduced, and I might have been 10, right? Yeah. So, but it was something that my neighbors had, and my dad went over and we watched it at the neighbor's house, and that was the first experience I really had watching it. And I don't even remember watching all of it, but there was this connection with this is important to the family.
Yeah.
So then it became something that we enjoyed, and then I remember right around it was like the late 90s, early 2000s, they George Lucas re-released with all the special edits, right? In theaters, and we weren't very financially well off, but that was something we afforded to do, was go see it, right? So for me, it was like the original movies, there's more of an importance, I think, that the family put on it.
Okay.
So it stood out. And what you described is actually something I think is happening a lot more now, which is kids grew up and the movies came out when they were kids, like the prequels.
Yeah.
So there's this like nostalgia to the prequels versus like for me, I look at the prequels and go, they're not nearly as good as the original. They are, right? When I look at them subjectively, like they're all about the same. They're all kid movies. They're all okay. They're not great groundbreaking movies, but there's so much emotional stuff projected into it. So that's where I could see you like the prequels a lot more because they came out at a different time in your life, so you're connected in a different way than like the originals, which you just watched to kind of get through.
Yeah, and I think that really pays respect to something that we were saying as we had kind of cued this one, was I had kind of said to you that what really sticks out to me are more of the themes, like of how I view the characters, because that was something that I could get behind, as I rewatch it.
Absolutely. And I think this is actually going to be happening with the newer trilogy that just came out, right? Because there's a lot of, it's not as good, or you're breaking the character through this, and it's something we spoke about in one of the previous episodes, that we project our hero stuff onto the characters, and then as the characters change and they don't change the way we expect them, we get a bad taste in our mouth. And that, I think, happened a lot. Plus, all the kids that watch like Clone Wars that were like, young, and then like these movies are going to have a very different relationship with it. So I think that long term, every generation is going to feel connected differently to the story, and it's going to be really hard to be connected to the overarching story in a really emotional way right now. Maybe 10 years from now, we will all feel slightly different about like maybe this Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a piece that comes out from me.